You know, there's a place that we all come to in our life where we have to begin understanding I can live with a franticness and a fear, or I can live with a contentment. Paul mentions in Philippians chapter 4, he's in prison. He could be getting ready to lose his life, and yet he says in this passage, in chapter 4, he just says, I've learned the secret. I've learned contentment. There's something about contentment. You know, Jesus would talk about it this way. He'd say, don't worry about anything. Don't worry. The birds of the air, don't worry. The flowers of the field, don't worry. Don't worry. Don't freak out. Don't get all beside yourself. There's something about learning that God has a journey for all of us. And in that journey, there are many things that come our direction. There are things that produce the character of Jesus in us. Well, you have to know that not everything in life is just going to be perfect and peachy, and that your relationships are not just perfectly consistent, and that life isn't exactly like that. It doesn't work that way. People have emotions, people make decisions, and you have to make the decisions based upon the decisions they've made, and you in your mind have already formulated, well, this would be the wise and the godly decision. Then all of a sudden a decision is made, and you have to make the best decision possible to follow after God in those decisions. We've had that. Many of us have had those experiences. Sometimes finances don't function the way we want them to function, and we perceive things. It's amazing how many people are sold jobs, said you can make this much money, but when it really comes around to it, you don't make that much money, and you're really concerned and you're worried, and all those fretful things come into your mind. About 25 years ago, I was in a situation that everything was a mess. It was just a mess. And I remember that I was going through this turmoil personally in my own life. And as a result of that turmoil, I remember the Lord speaking to me that a passage, and he said, I want you to go here. And I remember I had to preach, and I didn't want to preach. I just wanted to hand it off to somebody else. And the Lord said, no, this morning I want you to preach, and I want you to preach from this passage. And I didn't even know where the passage was. I had no clue. I had no idea what he was telling me. And before I could even turn there, it was time for me to go on. And he said, this morning, Danny, he spoke to me. He said, this morning, I want you to speak on contentment. And I said, Lord, I am not content. Right now, I'm anything but content. And I remember that when he spoke that to me, he said, these are the passages. And he actually would give me 4 different verses. But the first one was the most random, and it came out of Job. And it said he's wooing you from a place where everything's been a mess into a large, spacious place. And that's what he taught me. And I began realizing that contentment is the process of understanding that God is in control, that what God has placed in front of you is not to ruin you, but it's to bring you further and further into his purpose and destiny and all that he has for you, that God has an amazing release that he wants to release on your life. But sometimes the journey is not all that exciting of a journey. And so we end up in this place where we're like, Lord, I'm not content. There's nothing inside of me that's content. And he said, I want to teach you the secret of life. I want to teach you that in the flow of life, you can be okay. You know, when Jesus was being tempted by the devil, I'm sure that there were a bunch of things inside of him that weren't feeling content. It's very, very amazing. You know, we went through a fast a few months ago, and in that fast, fasting is not a place that brings out contentment. It brings out everything but contentment. You go, I'm hungry. I want this done. I want this done. It's where you begin trying to manipulate God because you believe that you're so spiritual that you think, well, God, now you need to do this because I'm doing this for you. But in fact, it's not like that. God brings us to these places where he says, I want you to learn the secret of contentment. Whether you abound, which means to have a lot, or whether you abase, which means you have nothing, that God is still God. He's your God, and he'll take care of you. Jesus says this, he says, seek first the kingdom. What he was saying was not a principle to manipulate. He was saying, seek first the attention that I have on the earth. You know, he's establishing his kingdom. And sometimes in the establishing of a kingdom, you realize that there's difficulty. I think about the various terrorist things that have happened around the world. Things that have happened just even as this past weekend where some churches were attacked and bombed in another part of the world. And there were hundreds of believers that were killed. And we look at that, and I think about the pastor, I think about the families. I said, Lord, what is this about? Why? How can people there find contentment? Well, the only place to find contentment is not in the circumstance, but in the Savior. That contentment is not found in the conditions you're in. Contentment is found in the person of Jesus. And so things that have happened even in places in Africa as flooding and incredible famine goes through those areas. We look at that and we say, I'm not content. And he says, you'll never find contentment in your circumstances. You will only find contentment in me. And Paul said, I have found the secret. I have found the secret. You know, Paul in Corinthians says this. He says, God has entrusted to us the secret things of God. The secret things that he can be a steward and release the secret. You know what the secret things are? Is that you can find your rest in him. You can find your place in him. That there's a habitation that we're always wanting God to have inhabit us. But he says, I want you to inhabit me. I want you to come to me. I will never cast you out. Come into me. Find your rest in me. Find a place in me. That is the secret place. It is the secret place in him. It is there that you're content. Everything could be happening all around. There could be war. There can be incredible famine. There can be financial issues. There can be things related to relationships. There can be all kinds of things happening, even accusations that come against you. But you run to him. You go to him and you say, Jesus, in you I find my rest. In you I find secret. The secret place, the secret place, the secret place, Lord. That we want the secret place that's within you. We need that place, Lord, inside of you that is so full of the secrets of God. So full of the secrets. We want to find out the secrets, Lord, in the worst conditions. We want to find out your secrets, Lord. What are you saying to us now? What are you causing us to grow in now? What are you wanting to come, Lord, into our lives right now? Father, those are the secrets we search out, and we search them out today, Lord, that today you would release the secrets, that you would show us things that, Lord, without you, we'd never have it. We would only have conflict and turmoil all around, but in you, we'd find secrets. There are secrets that he has for you today. Amazing secrets. I encourage you today, go find the places that are the secret places of God, because in there, you'll be content. And that's it. He loves you. Have an awesome day.